Okay. His singular elevation of mind, his extreme delicacy and refinement of feelings, his purity and truth from the constant theme of the traditions, he was most indulgent to his inferiors and would never allow his awkward little page to be scolded whatever he said. 10 years, said Anas, his servant, was I with the Prophet, and he never said so much as Uff to me. He was very affectionate towards his family. When asked to curse someone, he replied, I have not been sent to curse, but to be a mercy to mankind. He was of great taciturnity, and when he spoke with emphasis and deliberation, and no one could ever forget what he said. Modesty and kindness, patience and self-denial, and generosity pervaded his conduct and riveted the attention of all around him. With the bereaved and afflicted, he sympathized tenderly. He shared his food, even times of scarcity, with others, and was sedulously solicitous for the personal comfort of everyone about him. He would stop in the street listening to sorrows of the humblest. He would go to the house of the lowliest to console the afflicted and to comfort the heartbroken. The meanest slaves would take hold of his hand and drag him to their masters to obtain redress for ill treatment or release from the bondage. He never sat down to a meal without first invoking a blessing, and never rose without uttering a thanksgiving. His time was regularly apportioned during the day. When not engaged in prayers, he received visitors and transacted public affairs. At night he slept little, spending most of the hours in devotion. He loved the poor and respected them, and many who had no home or shelter of their own slept at night in the mosque contiguous to his house. Each evening it was his custom to invite some of them to partake of his humble fare. The others became the guests of his principal disciples. His conduct toward the bitterest of his enemies was marked by a noble clemency and forbearance, stern almost to severity to the enemies of the state, mocking affronts, outrages, and persecution towards himself were in the hour of triumph synonymous with the hour of trial to the human heart, all buried in oblivion, and forgiveness was extended to the worst criminal. Muhammad was extremely simple in his habits. His mode of life, his dress and belongings retained to the very last a character of patriarchal simplicity. Many a times had the Prophet to go without a meal. Dates and water frequently formed his only nourishment. Often for months together no fire could be lighted in his house for his scantiness of means. The mind of this remarkable teacher was, in its intellectualism and progressive ideals, essentially modern, eternal. Striving was, in his teachings, a necessity of human existence. Man cannot exist without constant effort. The spirit, the effort is from me, its fulfillment. His fulfillment comes from God. The world he taught was a well ordered creation, regulated and guided by a supreme intelligence overshadowing the universe. Everything is placed to its own time, he declared, and yet human will was free to work for its own salvation. His sympathy was universal. It was he who invoked the mercy of the Creator on all living beings. It was he who pronounced the savings of one human life as tantamount to the saving of humanity. His social conception was constructive, not disintegrating. In his most exalted mood, he never overlooked the sanctity of family life. To him the service of humanity was the highest act of devotion. His call to his faithfuls was not to forsake those whom they owed a duty, but the performance of that duty to earn merit and reward. Children were a trust from God to be brought up in tenderness and affection. Parents were to be respected and loved. The circle of duty embraced in its fold kindred, neighbor, and the humble being whose mouth was in the dust. Quoted from Spirit of Islam. John J. Poole, author of the life of H.M. Queen Victoria, writes in Studies in Mohammedanism, there is something so tender and womanly and withal so heroic about the man that one is in peril of finding the judgment unconsciously blinded by the feeling of reverence and well-nigh love that such a nature inspires. He who is standing alone braved for years the hatred of his people is the same who was never the first to withdraw his hand from another's clasp. The beloved of children who never passed a group of little ones without a smile from his wonderful eyes and kind words for them, sounding all the kinder in that sweet toned voice. The frank friendship, the noble generosity, the dauntless courage and hope of the man all tend to melt criticism into admiration. He was an enthusiast in the noblest sense, when enthusiasm becomes the salt of the earth, the one thing that keeps man from nothing, from rotting while they live. Enthusiasm is often used despitefully because it is joined to an unworthy cause, or falls upon barren grounds and bears no fruit. So was it not with Muhammad. He was an enthusiast when enthusiasm was the only thing needed to set the world aflame, and his enthusiasm was noble for a noble cause. He was one of those happy few who have attained the supreme joy of making one great truth their very life's spring. He was the messenger of one God, and never to his life's end did he forget who he was or the message which was the marrow of his being. He brought his tidings to his people with a grand dignity sprung from the consciousness of his high office, together with a most sweet humility whose roots lay in the knowledge of his own weakness. The Islamic Revolution brought a complete change in the way of life and thinking of Arabs under the direct supervision of the Prophet, who transformed the backward and